I want to say thank you to Fame for having me today. I appreciate being here. I thought that when I came here today, I would just stand up and talk to you about how I see about being a person of change. But the good thing about days like this is when you can come somewhere and learn something for yourself. See, I wish we had 6 events like this a year where we could come together and begin to talk to one another about certain problems or troubles or trials that we're going through, so that a lot of times we can hear from the people that's going through it, and then be able to help ourselves get through some of the things that we're going through. I always tell people education is learned, but knowledge is acquired. And there's no greater knowledge that you can acquire than being in a room of people that may have went through what you're going through and being able to get the help that you need. Because see, in receiving the help that you need, it helps you to grow. I used to tell people all the time, and one thing I've had to do in my life in order to grow up is something that I did not want to do. I had to fall in love with adversity. Because adversity was the only thing that was going to teach me how to be a better man. I always share with people all the time that this journey to become a man, before you can be the change in anything, you have to be the change in your own life. In this journey to become a better man, I have to share with people all the time, including my daughter who just turned 21, that 21 made me an adult, but 29 made me a man. And I had to learn how to go through that process of growth in order to transform into something that I can be proud of, and skills that I can learn, that I can use in my profession so that I can impact change. So there were some things that I had to go through in order to get there. Like a lot of times we tell our kids, I want you to be successful. I'm not a real big fan of success. What I'm a big fan of is growth. Success could be a moment in time, and I appreciate that. Success could be a milestone, and I appreciate that. You can pass a test. There are certain things that you can do with success, but just because you've had success doesn't mean you've grown. Growing is a whole nother level, because growing means maturity. It means the ability to be able to take what I learned and use it every single day to help me become a better person. I'm happy with success, but I want my children to grow, because growing commits you to a series of emergency that you have to get the information right now. People always ask me, how do I know what my passion is, Ed? When I was a kid, I didn't know what my passion was. But what I learned is that what I would do for free, is my passion. So once you understand what you will do for free, it will impact you and give you the passion to do something that you have to learn through school to do every day, and that's be a student. See, I want you to be a student, because once you learn how to be a student, whatever your passion is, you will automatically get it. And when you get your passion, because you've become a student, you will study every single day. You will make it a part of your life. You will do it because you want to be the best that you can be. And that's called growth in who you are. And I want everybody to leave here with that feeling that you want to grow up. I was always told by older people growing up, don't grow old, grow up. And growth requires maturity, and maturity's given me the ability to be able to impact change. I heard a lot of conversation from both rooms because I wanted to see what both rooms were talking about, so that I could get up here and speak about where both rooms are married. And one of the things that I heard more than anything was this whole conversation really about history. And that a lot of our kids don't feel like they're understood because of the school that they go to, or that the parents ask for help, but they haven't received the level of help that they believe that that school should offer. I want you to understand some things about history, and I'm going to share a story I had with a state rep from, well, we won't say the county, a county in Neverland, that's what I'll say. I had to explain to him, I know you, but you don't know me. See, I know you. From kindergarten to 12th grade, I had to study European history, not American history. So for 12 years, I was studying your culture. I know your culture. I know who you are. So American history may have took some things from me by not teaching you who I am. So now that you don't know who I am, you have an inferiority to me, because the only way you can identify me is what you see on TV or what you believe to be true about a history that never told you who I am. The truth of the matter is, your history called European history taught me who you are. From K through 12. American history missed it. Because American history never talked about the multiple groups or multiple ethnic groups that it took to build this great nation called the United States of America. So while you thought you were injuring me by not putting me in the American history book, what you've done in the year of the melting pot of America is injure yourself, because you don't know who I am. And because you don't know who I am, you don't know how to deal with me. But what I need you to understand is that that's good. How could you not want that adversity? Like, we don't know. Every generation before us had that adversity. It stood in the middle of it and dealt with it. How can we say we surprised as if we don't know the history? You know, when you send your kids to schools such as these, there's going to be a level of adversity that you have to deal with in order for your child to get the education that you want. And let me tell you something, that's a beautiful thing. You should want that adversity every day. Why should you want that adversity every day? Because for one, a child visualizes what they see. Do you know the power of a child watching his father and mother advocate on their behalf? Do you know the love that deposits in that child? It makes them understand why they have to learn now. It makes them understand why they got to stand up now. And see, you're the history they want to know. You have to teach them how to treat you. Not by being angry, not by being upset, but being in a situation where you know you're the teacher in this classroom, but I'm going to give you a teaching about life. And the teaching that I'm going to give you about life is who I am. So you don't have to believe the news, the media, the fake news and all that, because that's real fake news, because a lot of times they don't come to the school and interview our children in those predominantly schools that they say are great. They want to show a different image. But it is our job to make sure that the image that they see, particularly my young ones here today, is someone that can articulate their concerns and problems, someone that can find a solution, and they can't do that unless they see mommy and daddy be advocates for them. Your ability to be advocates for your children is what changes the game. The fact that they don't know African American history, they don't know Latino history, they don't know none of the histories, means that you are the living history. Each time you kids go to school, you have to teach them who you are, not by explaining yourself, but defining who you are. I talked to a student that interned with me, and she was talking about her ability to be in some affinity groups now and be leaders of them. And she shared with me her first 2 years, she really didn't get into it. She just sat back and, observed and learned. But she said this year she felt that she could stand up and be able to speak for the ones whose voices is not being heard. I said, well, what gave you the power to do that? She said, because in my 9th grade year, there would be some statements that was made that I didn't like, and I had to correct them. See, that's what you call learning. It might not be educational classroom, but it's a learning and leadership. Because what she learned, one, is how to stand up for herself. That's number one. And number two, because she went through that pain, because that had to be painful as a ninth grader, being able to stand up to yourself amongst people speaking down to you or speaking to you the way you don't want them to speak to you, you had to endure that pain. But check it out, now she can speak for the voiceless. See, that's power. And I tell people all the time, young people, listen to me. As you journey on in life, never get caught up on your title. Never. Never become a positional leader. Never. Because if you pay more homage, which means respect, to your title, then you'll never become the greatest leader you can become. Because whatever you desire to do in life, remember the first skill that you got to show people is that you care about it. That's why what she told me was so powerful. Because if you can't show people you care about them, they can't hear what you're saying. Ask anybody, this has been since the beginning. If I don't believe you care about me, I can't hear what you're saying. So when your teachers can't hear what you're saying, it's not because they don't care. They can't care about what they don't know. And if they can't care about what they don't know, you have an obligation to show them what they have to learn. So the first thing and everything is you have to demonstrate the ability to show people you care. Then after you show people you care, they will follow you because they believe you care. The second thing that you have to go through, and that's the title. If you can only do what your job title tells you you can do, you're weak. Make no mistake about that. Because in title comes power. But the only thing more influential than power is authority. So if my title as a state rep says I'm the only dude what I can do at a state rep level, I couldn't be a community leader because in order to be a community leader, I got to influence people that's not in politics. I got to learn how to influence people, not because I have the power to tell them what to do, but I have the authority because they gave me their ear to hear. And if they give me their ear to hear, it's up to me to deposit in them what I believe is good based on what I hear from a community that I show what I cared about. The second one is permission. I wouldn't be here today if fame didn't give me permission. I don't want to force nobody to follow me or be a friend of me or do anything. I don't want to force that on nobody. Because if I force that on somebody, then they'll reach at some level, there'll be a rejection of me. What I need is permission. Because if you give me permission, I can be your friend. If you give me permission, I can learn. If you give me permission, I can grow. I need the permission, so it's not by force, but it's definitely by permission. And when people give you the permission in order to be their friend or to lead them, then you have to have production. You want to produce, and the only way you can produce is if you take learning right now as an emergency. Because if you take it as an emergency, it's not how fast you get it, but the fact that you're committed to get it. I tell people all the time, I don't need your support. Because support will waver. If it's raining, you're not going to show up. If you got something else to do, you're not going to show up. But if I have your commitment, you'll be there come rain, water, and anything else. I need you to be committed to the power of learning. And if you're committed to the power of learning, you'll be committed to the power of growth. And if you be committed to the power of growth, you will automatically produce. And then when you produce, we all have an obligation, as I heard people talk about the ethnicity of the African American community. Let me tell you one of the most powerful things about learning, and that's at this next level. It's called the duplication. How many of y'all going back to your community deposited those that don't know? How many want to talk about the power of African American culture, but how many times have we went into low-income communities that you know the knowledge don't exist and didn't make up excuses to why you have to go, but you go in there and you deposit who we are based on what you learn so that you make that culture much more stronger and you move it from poverty into another lifestyle. How many have done it? See, to empower African American culture can't be where you work at. Because you don't control none of the power. All you can do is hope to get close enough to those that control the power in order to influence them on things that they need to know to help them grow. The problem is they probably won't understand that they need it because history didn't teach them it. So you got to go through a whole new thing. But in our communities, we ready. We ready. And the best people to educate our communities about the topics is not my generation. It's the generation I'm looking at right now. Because you are the leader. And here's how you always know you'll be a leader. Because the first person you got to lead is yourself. You can't do nothing without leading yourself. And how do you begin to lead yourself? You have to learn about yourself. And how do you learn about yourself? You have to become educated. And if you can become educated, if you take the permission given you to become educated, you can give back to the community 10 times more and continue to grow. As I depart from you right now, there's one thing I want to say. I want to leave you with this. Every time you run into adversity, fall in love with it. Because it didn't come to break you. Trust me, it didn't come to break you. No matter how much pain is affiliated with the adversity, trust me, it didn't come to break you. It came to make you. Because it's going to teach you a solution that you can give to the next generation. And so when you talk to a generation ahead of you to get some of the pearls, ask them one thing. Have they exhausted all the talents they've been given? And allow them to tell you what they haven't exhausted and what they still have. So that when you run into the level of adversity that makes you ask that question, you're equipped with the solution. Life is about learning, and that's the whole ability between let me walk through this thing called pain so I can experience joy. Thank you.